Hello, welcome to Win Some Lose More. My name is Dieter Loosemore, and I'm joined again by my brother Rick for the
Right.
top 10 games of our top 50 Win Some Lose More top 10 2023. These are the best games, and so they deserve boxes. If you've seen the previous years, all the other videos have just had pictures, but if we own them, we've got them in front of us. Hold up boxes as well, still do the images, all the normal stuff, but preamble over. Top 10, Rick, what is your number 10 game as of right now?
I have a terrible confession to make. It's actually out on loan, so I don't have my box ready, which is a shame. I realise they're in shop now. Too. Oh, secrets. Yeah, so hide over here. Yeah, you never saw that. You never saw that. Yeah, the my number 10 is Seven Wonders Duel. You talked about it last
Uh,
time, and yeah, it stayed in the top 10 consistently. It was seven. It was seven. It was nine last year. So it's exactly what you say. It's just very good. It's the best two-player game I know, and just really tidy, pretty boring looking artwork,
yeah,
but the 3 days to win, the saber rattling that goes on, the simplicity of action, but the depth of choice. It's just a lot of fun. And the reason it's out alone is because I had someone who's like, "Oh, I'll play Seven Wonders." I was like, "What you should really play is this." And I sat and played it. Can I keep this for a bit? I was like, "Absolutely, yeah, that's fine." So probably should get it back. But yes, Seven Wonders Duel, mint.
lovely. My number 10, new to the top 10, um, is the game that I mentioned last time when you very helpfully gave me a word for uh,
I,
curating rather than modular. This, everybody, is Marvel Champions,
ooh,
the card game. And I actually only own one additional module in a few days. When Christmas happens, I will have another one. Um,
yes.
but this, you choose a hero or a couple of heroes. It's cooperative, however many. I tend to play it solo. I've done a video on it to check it out. You pick a villain, you pick their henchmen, shuffle them all together. You shuffle your hero stuff all together. Go. Can you defeat them? A lot of fun. I mentioned a
Mm.
few videos ago Arkham Horror, the living card game. I've played Lord of the Rings one as well. There's all sorts of other ones. It's it's very similar. It's a living card game. It's that kind of thing. But what this does well for me is not only is it a theme that I like more, significantly more,
Mm.
but I can just sit down and play it once. Whereas all of the Arkham Horror stuff, it's two or three
Right.
stories long or 10 stories long. They're all campaigns. Whereas this, one of the what I'm getting for Christmas actually is one of the campaigns, and it will add that. But at its core, here's a hero, here's a villain, go.
Mm.
Job done. Put them away. Try a different hero. Try a different villain. Go. Do that. A lot of fun. It's the card power manipulation, hand management, resource management stuff that just is my jam. It just works for me. Marvel Champions, number 10.
Wonderful. Well, some of my favorite types of games are engine builders, as we've discussed, worker placements, as we discussed. But one of the things that you pointed out to me years ago, and I was really shocked at, but is absolutely the case, is I really like economic games. I like games where you have to make the most of your money. It might not be money all the time, resources potentially, but it's because I've got really good, I guess, mental maths or whatever it is. And a game that is great for making the most of your money is Power Grid. Just, I mean, I don't know how it's stuck around for quite so long in my top 10. Every single year it's been here. This is the lowest it's been. I could see it falling out because it is
Right.
20 years old. 20 years old. I mean, Ticket to Ride is 20 years old, right? That's still
Mm.
doing quite fine. And I really like this aesthetic. I don't like the board aesthetic, as we've said, but the fluctuation of the market in this thing is still one of the best I've ever seen.
Mm.
Basically, you are trying to um, build a power grid. You power, part of Europe or Germany, or I've got some expansions for British Isles, for Scandinavia, um, and you then need power stations which power X number of places. But then, depending on the power station, you need the appropriate fuel. So if it's coal, you need coal. If it's oil, you need oil. If it's uranium, you need uranium. If it's wind, hey, you don't need anything. That's self-sufficient. Actually, it doesn't seem to be quite as effective as the rest of them. But then halfway through the game, oil and coal becomes somewhat more scarce because fossil fuels, and then but there's auction mechanics, and there's just buy things cheap soon, and there's turn order stuff, and it just works. It works, and it's continued to work. I actually haven't played this in a couple of years now, and it makes me really sad because it needs a kind of a higher player count, and I've got to have a group of people that want to play an economic game. It's not. I would say it's not actually that heavy. I'm sure other people would disagree, but this is it. If you like economic games, pretty much about as perfect as it gets. But Power Grid, I like it.
Lovely. My number 9 is unmoved at number 9. I have 3 unmoved spots, so Pub Me Ball at this point seems to be getting it right. We've mentioned it before. I've mentioned another in its series before. This is the box that now holds everything for me. Century Spice Road. I almost used the word immaculate. It's dull looking. It's not immaculate, but it's just so simple and satisfying all at the same time. You've got, to begin with, just 2 cards, and you have 4 actions that you can take throughout the entire game. One is play a card and do what it says. One is gain a new card, add it to your hand. Maybe you can use that later. Or you can turn stuff in to fulfill a card to get stuff. Or you can just pick up all your cards. That's it. That's the whole game. Done. And it's just trading different color cubes for different color cubes to turn in for those cards as one of those 4 actions to maybe get an unnecessarily coolly produced metal coin. And then on and on you go until you stop, until someone's fulfilled 6 contracts or however many it is, depending on the player count, goes up to 5. Super fast, super quick to learn, super engaging, because by the time you've worked out what it is you want to do, it's your turn and now you can do it. But that's not, I've spent 10 minutes thinking about a turn. You've spent about 20 seconds thinking, it's me. Oh, okay. I'll play that one. And it's got the river mechanic, which I really love in hand building or card drafting type things, where the further away it is, it's free. And if you want to go, it's going to cost you have to put things on. But then if you get a card that's got a cube on, you get to keep the cube. But then in this one, you have a caravan. So there's the maximum capacity of cubes. You can't just stockpile. You have to use them or convert them or spend them to do this, that. It's really simple, but it's really good, really engaging, and really fast. Century Spice Road, the best of them, undoubtedly, and one of the best welcoming games I know.
Well, I said last time that my former number 8 was Wingspan, and we both agreed that Wingspan Plus is Earth.
I was really worried it wouldn't be on your list. I thought I'd misjudged the whole situation. I was like, why? I'm sure. I didn't realize it would be top 10.
I didn't realize it'd be top 10.
I thought top 20 was a reasonable guess, and then it wasn't in your top 20. I was like, really?
Yeah.
Just including it?
Yeah. I haven't. I don't know. There was a point I was like, I played it a lot solo, and which I do sometimes with games when I'm trying to get to know. There are very few games, and both of them are on my list, my top 10. Very few games that I will just play solo, because I don't like dummy players, because I don't like beat your own score, and this just didn't do it. And I was like, I'd like to see how this works. As soon as you get multiple players so that you're triggering each other's turns, I don't always love follow mechanic. I like racing, I like roll, but it's not it's a follow mechanic game. You will like it, I might like it. That's very much how. Sure. This you follow every single time. Every single time. It's not like, did I pick the right card? Did I second guess? Because that's almost like bluffing. It's the reason I don't like follow mechanic is because it's almost like social deduction, which is not a genre I like at all. I don't want to figure you out. But if you do that, hey, I get that thing. Great. I was going to do that thing anyway. So now I can just do something else. And it feels very much like that.
Sure.
In 2-player, I found it a little bit intense, I think, actually, to be honest. You just don't have space to breathe. It's just so, like, it's your turn. But it was my turn on your turn. I don't have that rapidity. I can't do it. You would need 3 players just to can we breathe, please? But yeah, no, the reason that Wingspan has fallen, the reason that Underwater Cities has fallen, is because Earth does what those games do, and just that tiny bit juicier, that tiny bit juicier. It doesn't have the "hey, you can teach everyone" appeal of Wingspan. It is crunchier, but not that much, not that much. And the cards are in an enormous pile. But you know what? You get rid of loads of them. You just, but this just like, oh, I have to discard this card, but I get a point for it. Oh, I'll discard 10. It's great. And some games where you're just like, it's a War of the Ring. Oh, you've got 4 cards, but you're only going to play 2 of them. This is not that. You've got 10 cards. Get rid of all of them because I know I'm going to get 10 more in a minute. It's a generous game. It's a juicy game. Yeah, Earth. It is very good. We'll see. We'll see if it stays in the top. I think, like you, I'm just like, I'm excited. I'm excited by this. We'll see if it's got the really, really big legs to stick around. But right now, yeah, this is what's knocked the Wingspan out for a year. So there you go. Number 8, Earth.
Speaking of really big legs, my number 8 has been in the top 10 since I've ever played it. I have to show you the entire box because it doesn't have a lid per se. Onitama, wonderful. 2-player only, martial arts. So Earth is Wingspan plus. Onitama is chess plus. It's not remotely. It's you like chess, and I don't want to spend 4 hours just determining who's actually smarter. I don't. That's not fun for me because you've learnt the book that tells you every possible move. Okay, if that's your thing, do it. People love it and they're invested in it. Wonderful. This is 5 cards that you keep passing around, and every time you take a move, which is one of the cards, you're then passing it to your opponent so that they get to use that against you. So do you want to use that, or do you want to hold on to that 2 steps to the left thing so that they can't, because each one is different and determines where you can actually place one of your pieces, and you're either trying to take out their king, the sensei, or trying to get yours to their home. 2 ways to win. Nice. 5 cards. Nice. A neoprene mat with really chunky plastic pieces. Beautiful. But that cycling of that card action thing around and around, amazing. And I know we've spoken about it before, and we always talk about, I tried it digitally first, didn't care. You tried it digitally, really didn't care. There is genuinely something. It's not an outthink real chess situation, but there's still just something about the tactility of it, of the social nature of it, that just elevates this beyond what it should be for what it is. Can't tell you why. It was number 6 last year. Number 2, there's a new game, there's some shuffling. Yeah, it's a solid top 10 for me. Onitama.
That's the beauty of board games. Power Grid. If you wrote it down on a piece of paper, I'm like, no, I'm not going to play that. But there's a board, and there's paper money, and there's cardboard, and there's wood, and I just want to touch it and play it. And sometimes games are transcended by the tactilities of their existence.
Yeah,
and they become more fun than if they were just an idea. My number 7, I've put on the top of this pile, but I don't know why I've done that, because it's going to be the crossover on this list, and so it's going to have to be your turn.
Oh, a semi crossover.
Whoa, no way.
My number 7 is a
no
new
way.
game.
This is outrageous. This no way this should be number 7. No way this should. Do I have to reveal my number 7 now?
No, it's fine.
Okay, because this later.
This is a Stonemaier game.
Yeah, sure.
In the 1920 plus world, this is Expeditions.
Yeah. Wow.
This is fantastic.
You're such a fanboy.
I'm not, though. I absolutely am, but it's so good.
Okay, I'm going to reserve judgment.
Yeah, there's the niggles, and it is revealing how my tastes are evolving, and will this stay here? I don't know. I got it. I played a bunch of it solo. It works so well solo, so well. I played it two player. Honestly, a little disappointed. I thought it's good at solo. Surely it's replicating another player. Two player, this is what it's going to feel like. And it was okay, but you kind of just have free reign to do whatever you want, which I'm okay with in most games. Actually, like multiplayer solitaire games, that works for me. But there's so many race elements within expeditions, unveiling the tiles, defeating the corruption, getting the cards that you want at the right time, because there's a spatial element to how you draft cards to be in your hand, to be able to do the actions, the really clever, simple action system of there are three things that you can do, and you have a little cube that covers up one of them and you do the other two, and they can't stay there between turns. So good. And then eventually you're going to do none of them because you need to reset everything. And the next time you get to do all of them. It's just so simple little design ideas that just culminate into then when I played 3 and 4 player, an amazing experience. And, you know, things being in your hand, being on the left of your thing, and you move them across, and the order matters. For me, again, a card power type player works for me. My only qualm, I know we've discussed this privately, is whether, because it's tiles that make up the board, but they're not densely packed. There are holes where cards live. What you just mentioned about there being a board and the tactility and this, that, or the other.
Yeah.
It falls down ever so slightly. It's number 7. But it falls down ever so slightly, because I questioned whether this would be higher, honestly. And it doesn't, because I don't know that what I'm doing in front of me with my really cool action system and my cards and all of the manipulation I'm doing there feels like the same thing as pushing my piece around between tiles that aren't really the central focus because there's not a set board, and it's so silly. But also for Christmas, I'm getting the playmat, which honestly I think will be a psychological trick for me to its benefit, that now that there's a visual centerpiece, whether that will draw attention to being like, what I'm doing here is for the purpose of this. And I know that's a silly thing to say, but card games are card games. Board games are board games, and there are board games that use cards and there are card games that use boards. Stupid semantic argument, but there's a distinction, and I can't feel which one Expeditions is at the moment, and I want to. Bizarre thing to knock it on. Production's great. At first I was like, well, these cards don't feel so good, they're a bit thin, but the way you use them, they're actually really useful being that thickness because of how you manipulate them. It's not like a big shuffling deck builder type thing where you want them a bit heartier. And you can pack more in, and the sculpts are really cool. It's just really cool. It's really cool. I think this will slip more likely than go up.
Sure.
But they have announced the first expansion is coming. I think it's just a more stuff, which is my favorite kind of expansion. So we'll see. Right now, really works for me. Expeditions.
Well, my number 6, I also don't have the box for, because I've completed it. This is Pandemic Legacy Season 1. And this has dropped. It was number 2 first time we did this, and the second time we did this. Slipped to 5 last year. Now just out of the top 5. I wondered next year, as I said when we talked about Season 2, whether I'll even include legacy games, because they're just so hard to categorize. Because so many of these games, when you're particularly on PubMeeple going, do I want to play this? Do I want to play this? I can't play that.
Yeah.
That's actually not true. I am actually currently in the midst of, in June, of a replay of Pandemic Legacy Season 1 with some friends who've not played it before. And actually, we're playing it again, and I'm like, this is great. And I'm surprised that it hasn't stayed in my top 5, because it really is. It's even fun the second time, even knowing like what's about to come in September and all that kind of secret stuff. It's just hard to place. Legacy games are hard to place. So that's what it is. It's great. Really, really like it, but not sure it'll exist in next year's list. But it also means, and not giving anything away, my top 5 is entirely by European designers for the very first time. Sorry, Matt Leacock. Sorry, Rob Davio. Which means I truly have drunk from the Kool-Aid. I am a Eurogamer.
Two of mine are.
Yeah.
Number 6. Goes through a weird thing. It stays in my top 10. And throughout the year, it falls. And then at some point, which hasn't happened yet, I play it and it jumps back up. And then it drips. And then I play it again and it jumps back up. Because this is a world rather than the game. It's a very good game. This is Sleeping Gods.
Right.
This is something that I pull out essentially annually to just have a blast in. And I actually have the expansion coming soon, so maybe that will revitalize it and knock it back up. It was 3 last year. It's 6 this year. Whoa, that massive fall. It's a narrative-based Ryan Lockett game, so the art style is distinct, and I've grown to love the worlds that he creates. It's typical, almost cliched Portal fantasy. You're suddenly in a different world and you have to navigate this and find a way to get back. But it's a storybook, and you can just go, this time through, why don't we go that way? And it's co-op and it works well. Probably 2 is its best because you get to share some of the reading, some of the stories, but even in a solo, you're controlling 9 characters. That control is actually very simplified, but that's still quite a lot to manage. Whereas in 2, you take 4 each and then the captain passes back and forth up to, 4-player 2 each and passing around and whatnot. Just a great, very well thought out world. They're in the midst of delivering a sequel to it, Distant Skies, which tweaks some of the mechanisms that people find trick. Like the combat is a little harder to internalize. They've worked on that. They've improved that. It's one of the narrative type games that I genuinely think you would like, even though you have to sit down to a couple of sessions of it. It's as much role play as you want it to be, or none, and it's just being read a great story.
Yeah.
The dark stuff isn't icky dark. It's just I don't know how to describe.
A little bit dark in here.
I know. It's like, Minotaur. Oh no, is he going to be? Oh no, he's a friend. He's
this cave could use a light. Anyone got a torch?
Basically, though, and like the big bad, this weird thing trying to devour you. You come across it twice, and it's just a big combat set piece. It's not like, they're drawing your soul. It doesn't do that. It's just fantastic world. And it makes me tempted to try so many of his other games, but I've still got so much to explore in this one, and I will keep doing it and keep wanting to do it. So number 6 for me, Sleeping Gods.
All right, number 5, my highest new entry.
Oh, higher than me. Okay, sure.
Was that your highest?
I had 1 new for this list, and it was Expeditions. It's done.
I had 2. I had Earth and this next one,
which I've now remembered. I thought I was like, I can't think of what this could possibly be, but you've alluded to it.
It's almost an anagram of Earth screaming into 5th place. Oh. It's so good. It's so good. It's so good. It's so good. Downforce, see you later. Camelot, not even in the top 50. I'm not a big fan of race games. I like them when they're gambling and that kind of thing. This isn't that. This is a proper race game. We talk about Captain Sonar and other games like that where you remember the moments of play. The moment where I have played a tournament of this, which is 3 games on the spin with a couple of mates. And by the way, this is a racing game. It's for up to 6 players. There's space for expansions. Days of Wonder. We see you. Looking forward to when it's an 8-player game for sure. But it's a 6-player game. but they have a bunch of modules in there, which I'll come to in a minute. But one of the modules is put in dummy players. I just said I don't like dummy players. They're so easy and so well integrated. They're incredible. You can play them. You just throw them in. They're just causing extra damage or giving you slipstream. Anyway, whatever. I'd done a race with 3 of my mates over 3 races, and it came down to the last corner, and he beat me to the corner, and so I had to absolutely leather into that corner, and I spun out, and I went back, and then I spun out, and I went back, and I spun. He won the race, like with the slowest card you've ever seen in your life, but because I was just. And the other game, where my friend just came from way behind. The other game where Cheryl, my wife, she did 23 spaces in one move. And now I play this, now I play this. Pedal to the metal. It is a race game in the absolute truest sense of the word. Okay, it's a little bit hard to first play, get your head round. Because what you do, you put yourself into a gear, first, second, or third, or fourth, and that determines how many cards you get to play. So you probably want to be in higher one because you can play more cards, right? And then your cards range from sort of 1 to 4 with some special powery things. But if you go too fast around a corner, you have to pay the difference in heat. And heat sits in your engine and kind of does nothing. But this is a deck builder. And when heat goes into your deck and comes back around, it's a dead card. It takes up space. So actually you have fewer options than you had before. But if you ever run out of heat, you spin out. And it's bad. You don't want that. It's hard to recover. Yes, you add then stress into your hand, which then adds random elements. And you want to control how fast you're going. But you've got all this stress and heat in your hand. But they've got this little thing saying you can't discard. So they're just stuck in your hand. It takes deck building and just does the perfect things for racing. So it is first time a little bit tricky. And I know we've played this and you're like, think I could like this? I totally get that. This isn't Downforce. This isn't Come Up. This isn't for everyone. But when you've played this and you go back and play other games and you're, I wish it did that. I wish it did. Sure. I wish it had that slipstream. I wish it had this. I wish it had that element of chance or that element of push your luck. That's essential what racing is I want to control my deck, but I also want to push it to its nth degree, and it does that. Then there's 4 maps right in the box. It's a deep box, as you can see. 4 maps in the box. There's a weather module. There's random, stuff that they do to the corners. You can soup up your engine in different ways, and there's a drafting mechanism as well. I want this, and you want that, and then we do it all over again. So everyone has like special powers, and then like there's the championship mode, and then that gives you even more upgrades. Wow! And it's all just in the base box. There's like 3 proper expansions in here. Oh, it's great. It's so fun. And I just always want to play it. Heat. Pedal to the metal. I said right at the top, Days of Wonder have done well this year. Oh boy. Oh boy.
My number 5 up from 11, up 6 places. I'm sure it would have used to have been in the top 10. It's been just on the cusp for the last couple of years. But in that definite 15, maybe 20 bracket of these could be anywhere at any given day. And I haven't played this in a year or so, maybe. But speaking to somebody at work, and they're like, "My boys have picked up this game. They really like it. It's really, I don't really know what it's about. What's it called? What's it called? Is it Targi?"
Ah.
And I'm like, I know Targi. It's amazing. I'm like, yeah, they just play it over and over again. I'm like, I like your boys. That's a great choice. Why should they do anything else? It's so dry in a desert, and it's just I was going to say the best. I have one worker placement that's to me the most interesting worker placement system I've come across, with just that very simple axis mechanic. You place your workers on the outside, and then you see on the outside of a grid, and those are actions that you've taken, absolutely. But then you get an additional action of where those actions intersect, and you go, oh wow, okay, so not only do I make taking the actions that I want, but actually I'll take an action I want less or that I actually don't want, either to block you from what you want, that double think, that social element that you mentioned before, that some people like, some people don't. Even if you don't play that way, I'll take the lesser one to get the caravan card I want, or the food that I want that's going to allow me to do this to get the resources. And it's a super dry Euro. You're just building a tableau. Sometimes immediate benefits, sometimes ongoing benefits, sometimes end of game benefits. Like it's all of the normal boring stuff.
Yeah.
But it all just comes together so well. And I do have the expansion which guts it, gives you a slightly different approach, adds an additional resource of water, changes the game, but is still very familiar. I'd say they're on a par. It's not like, oh, this is a necessary expansion, because it is almost like a 1.5. It's almost a different game, but doing exactly the same thing. Play either, but this is the learning one, certainly. But an hour long, respect to anybody that just sets up and does it again, because it is, you feel like you've had a full, satisfying, tense game throughout. Quiet, not the raucous heat situation, but smooth and sublime. Targi, number 5.
Lovely. Yeah, my number 94. No, I like it. I think it, like you say, it's that outthinking social. Just wasn't for us. Just wasn't for us. But you play it and you go, "This is something special." It really is. It's just not for us. My number 4 was number 4 last year, so it's held its position. Brass Birmingham. I could kiss this one too, but I like economic games. We've already talked about that in this list, and this is, I mean, the ones that there's some coming up that have got economic in there, but this is the daddy.
Yeah,
this is just a bizarre game where you play a game of it and then you reset and do it all over again. And you listen to that rule and go, "That's not going to be fun."
I hate it.
I know you do, but it almost makes it. Just amazing. And but the best thing, the absolute best thing about this game is that I still do not know any other game that is as interconnected as this game.
Yes.
Because I build a coal factory. I mean, it's industrial England. I said, my top 5 days with Danish designers just now. This is my best British designer, Martin Wallace. You do Martin Wallace stuff. You're in the Industrial Revolution in the West Midlands. But you build a coal factory or a coal mine, rather, and other people need coal to fuel their iron forges or their steam trains or whatever it is, and they take your coal if you're connected to them by rail or by canal, and then that means you get points and money and income. And but I don't want. I really don't want to help you because, well, we're competing. That's games, right? But I need that stuff, and you've got it. Oh, you need this stuff. You need beer to feed your people. You need iron to make your ironworks. Well, you need what I've got, and so you build what other people haven't. And it's not like with Power Grid earlier, where there's supply and demand with the board, and it goes, "Oh, the house is more, this is more expensive. This is cheaper." That happens, but it happens because of what other people are doing, and you have to help one another, and you really don't want to. And so a lot of the time, you're sort of seeding the board with, they're going to need that, and if they don't use it, I'll use it. I'm quite happily take it. I'm going to make my own money. I'm going to make my own points, my own kind. But in the meantime, is there a way that I can make them use it? Because that would be great. And it's just about creating sort of win-win situations for yourself, while at the same time trying to minimize the amount you're helping other people. And it's just it's number 1 on Board Game Geek. I don't think that's accurate. I don't think this is the should be the worldwide best game ever. I just don't. But it is pretty special, and it is unlike many other games. So, and I've got the deluxe version, and that always helps. There you go. Brass. I know it's not for you.
Samesies. My number 4 was last year's number 4. My favorite worker placement game. You ragged on it and broke my heart last time. Paladins of the West Kingdom.
You don't rag on it. It's top 20.
It's
It's
19.
so good. It's
What
a
is
fantastic
this?
game. It's a fantastic game. You don't
It
rag
is
on
a
it at all.
fantastic game. This is about 2 hours long, and I played it solo for the first time, and then immediately set up and did it all again. Uh, on that, is it interesting? More interesting than good? No, it is equal. It is equally interesting and good. Like there are
The
more
dichotomy is
fun.
interesting. Yeah, I think it.
There are more fun
Yeah,
games.
yeah,
I will give you that.
yeah,
And the rest of my list, I think, says that.
yeah.
But this is not just fascinating, the crew type. I'm hooked
Yeah,
on
yeah.
how it
No,
works,
no.
and then I'm kind of over it. The I know what my approach is. I know how I play this game, and I
Yeah,
don't always win, and I rarely do. And I could improve that and find a different strategy because there are lots of strategies to approach. And which of those three paladins that you pull up, which one do you use? Which one do you put on top? Which one do you put on
yeah,
the bottom? Amazing choice.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
there's
That's the first choice.
randomness.
The first
Yeah,
choice.
like
Amazing,
there's
amazing.
there, there, there's randomness. There's things that could come up. Which of those king's orders are going to come out in the middle? Which are things then you're fighting over really? As the rest of it's kind of you just sit on your own board and do your own thing. Like it will go differently each time,
Mm,
but I know how I want to play this, and I'm not bored of that
yeah, yeah,
because sometimes it just goes a different way, and then you have to pivot and go, oh, actually, how can I incorporate that and like overcome that dissonance in that moment? It's like that's not how I play this. Oh, actually, though, that allows me. Okay, I see. Because red, black, and blue, sure. But when you look into why they are what they say they are, it does make sense. There is opportunity for theme. Yes, it's not slathered in theme like Architects is comparatively, like my next two are. Like, there are far more thematic games, but in how they've married the theme to the mechanisms, it's actually very well done. It's
mm,
just not obvious necessarily because that almost might make it too complex because this is a relatively complex game. And I wonder if calling them those things just as a nod to the theme is actually more helpful than giving everything this brand new name and
yeah.
doing this
I
thing,
agree.
whereas making it
I
a
agree.
bit systemy, a bit mechanicy actually helps you to know what to actually do. So it
That's,
just works for me. Micho is probably my favorite board game artist. Um, I like all the ones in this trilogy. I've played the first of the other two trilogies, both Wayfarers of the South Tigris and Explorers,
Raiders of the Third.
Raiders of the North Sea. Oh, is it? Oh, okay, fine.
Yeah.
I've played one each of the other two. All three of these, no question, for me, far and away the best one. Um, and I don't disagree with your argument on heart and charm and drawing people in and doing that stuff, but sheer mental engagement for me, this wins out every single time. Paladins of the West Kingdom, unmoved at number 4.
Well, Birmingham was 4 for me last year, but 3 the year before. Well, my 3 was 3 last year and 4 the year before. So they flip flopped and then stayed the same.
Yes,
I mean,
yes,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I really
yes.
like the card game, but I love the board game. Oh yes, there are so many unplayed expansions in this box. Well, not this is the lid, but wow, this is a complex beast and it's hard to get to the table. But
Yeah.
if you like Lord of the Rings and you want to play a board game, you are done, my friend. And we talk about Heat, we talk about Captain Sonar, and we talk about the stories that you tell, that you remember every time you get the game out. This is full of them because every time is sort of a retell of what might have happened in the Lord of the Rings narrative. I know it's IP. I know it's esoteric, and it's not as esoteric as it once was. But I love Tolkien.
Mm-hmm.
I'm such a geek, and this is great. And I wish I could play it every day, but I really can't because I have children and so many other responsibilities. If only I had 4 hours a day and someone who wanted to play with me every day, I'd be so happy.
Yeah.
Number 3. Excellent.
My number 3 is down 2 places and is our crossover.
Yes.
This, everybody, is Scythe. My second Stonemaier game of the 10. I don't know what you're talking about, fanboy. What was it?
You get Stonemaier side fanboy. Huh?
Was it number 7?
7. Yeah, it fell 1. So the Insurgents repeat.
I said Expeditions has a really neat, clean action system. That's you just pick that thing, you do 2 of those. It's an echo of the Scythe one. They're set in the same world, the 1920 plus Jakub Rosalski world. And Scythe, you've got 4 columns of actions, top and bottom, and you move your pawn. Normally, there's a faction that lets you do something different, but you cannot stay on the same one. You move it, and you do that. You can do as much or as little of it. You have to do something from there, but you can do just the top or just the bottom or both in either order, except the top actions are pretty basic. They're pretty normal. Everyone can do them as long as things are in the right place. It would be weird why you wouldn't be able to do them. The bottom ones cost you something significant, certainly to begin with. But as the game goes on, you can upgrade and make this thing better and this thing cheaper, and all of these little systems. And what this does,
I love teaching that. Every time you teach that moment, they're like, so what does upgrade do? Okay, oh cool. And with 3 turns in or something like that, you're finally getting around to teaching the bit that they haven't got to hold their head around yet.
Yeah.
And what does upgrade do? You take this off here and you put it there. Oh, and then that becomes cheaper. Yeah. Oh, and look, I can do more things. And you go, yeah. And welcome to Scythe.
Yes.
That's the moment. That's the moment.
About 5 rounds in, everybody's like, okay, let's go.
Yeah.
What this has that Expeditions doesn't is the central board.
Yeah.
In a very engaging, interactive way. You can, and I tend to play, leave me alone on my own little island, I'm going to do my little thing.
Yeah, until the last 2 rounds, that's what you do.
You might not, though. I played a 5-player game recently, including a couple of the expansion things, expansion factions, and so some people were throwing out the traps and just running around and doing that stuff as the Albion people, whilst then you had the Saxons who are coming in wanting to burn everybody to the ground because they have no limit on how successful they can be in combat.
Yeah.
And so just all those tiny twists of how do you want to play? You can do that. It might not be the way your faction wants to play, but the asymmetry is actually minimal enough that you can ignore it, but significant enough that you probably shouldn't.
Yeah.
And that's a really nice balance. It's not the root level, oh gosh, I'm playing a different, I know we've discussed this, root is not, we're playing a different game, but I'm learning my own system to your system. It's not that level of asymmetry, and it's not a token where you start with this thing, and if you do this one action, this happens. You get a thing that feels different. And so not necessarily the stand-up Captain Sonar memory moments, but the stories that come out of why this would make sense, why these people are interacting, why everybody's going for the factory where you can get a new slot for actions that let you do something that nobody can do. Just all really cool stuff. The production's sublime. The artwork's incredible. It's 7 years old now. I got it. When did we get it? It must have been the year it came out, if not the year after. And it's been number 1 most of those years. It's not this time, partly because some stuff has just jiggled around, and partly Expeditions being so similar in many ways. It's not diluting it. I know it would be wrong of me to say I'm getting tired of it because it's number 3.
Yeah.
But I played it again recently, and I love it. But I've played my other 2 as well, and I'm okay with them being just that smidge higher.
Yeah.
It's just starting to show its cracks ever so slightly, and it will settle around its top 3. Like everything below 3 could be anywhere in the top 10. My top 3 are my top 3, no question. This is it. Next year it might be number 1 again, it might be number 2, it might be number 3, who knows. I can't imagine there's something coming and shaking that. Scythe, number 3, and you're number 7.
Yes, my number 2 won't be a crossover. And actually it has changed since we started recording. There's space between these recordings. You don't know.
It hasn't gone back.
You don't know.
Oh, don't do that to me. I was so excited.
Sometimes you just play games and you go, oh no, actually, do you know what? I don't like that quite as much. Or you get an expansion and it suddenly goes, oh, I'm starting to actually just see the limitations of this. I thought, the expansion would maybe take you to a new place. But, and sometimes you just go, oh, it's just more of the same is fine, but it's fine. It's not like, oh, this is now great. So I played some other things, and I had to in fact, and I sort of shuffled, and actually that's when Heat went up to the top 5 because I was like, do you know what, I flipping love it, as we've said. But it does mean that my number 2 is Terraforming Mars.
Yes. I'm so excited.
Yeah, number 1.
Don't do that to me.
I had to. Number 1, 3 years in a spin. This is a major moment, and it has been honestly a hard decision. Because this is, if you have Terraforming Mars, you might recognize that this is not the normal box. This is the big box because I have damn near everything for Terraforming Mars. I don't have Turmoil. I don't like it as an expansion. I've argued with people on the internet about that. I'm not going to get into it now. But I like all the other expansions. I like all the extra miniatures. I like the metal cubes. I like everything. And I have played so much Terraforming Mars, you'd think I'd be bored of it. But I've taught a number of people this year. I taught my friend who's a board game designer, and he was saying, he'd never played it because he's like, oh, everyone goes on about it. And he just seems like, I think that's my game of the year. And like he said, every card is splashy. Every card, and we've talked about this with Race for the Galaxy. You've talked about with Marvel Champions. Like you want to get them in just what were you talking about? Lacana.
Yes.
Just like, that sort of like, I can see how this card will work. Fricks Games, the little gits are releasing every 3 months a promo. And I'm just looking at it going, oh, I need that promo. You could just see how that would work. Because I've played so much of this. I'm like, oh, I know how that would release just whole new possibilities. And not just of mechanic, but of theme. People play this and they go, oh, it's like I'm doing. And I'm like, yeah, I know that. It's one of the few games in the world that just theme and mechanic just sit side by side beautifully. I know for some people it's too abstract. So many people go, I get it. I really get it. And it's the kind of sci-fi I like not Farscapey nonsense, but like The Martian, sort of I can get hold of this. Sure. And it's real worldy. People want to play it. Oh, love it. And it's economic. Hey, I'm spending money. I'm trying to maximize my money. But it's also an engine builder. But it's also like, you're chaining things. But it's also got a proper board central. You're fighting over the space, area control. There's points going and it's interactive like Brass. because you're all trying to push up the heat. And you can't do some things until there's enough oxygen on the planet or whatever it is. It's interconnected and it's fabulous. And I do play it solo. It's a wonderful race game. Oh, I so nearly left it at number 1, but I didn't. Number 2 for you.
My number 2, also a former number 1. My number 2, also not the original box, because I have damn near everything. An even bigger box than yours.
Yeah.
Blooming Vindication. What a game. I back and forth between Scythe and Vindication constantly. I've taught this year. I've played Scythe this year. I've been asked to bring this one back.
Yeah.
Partly because more people have played Scythe.
Yeah.
Base game. I love just the base game. And yet I have all this other stuff which I love. There's, a central board, a central map, but everybody's participating in discovering it, and actually somebody else finds the thing that you needed and you have to find a way to get over there. Everything's upgradable, everything's point salad, everything has as much theme as you want it to. That's a thing for me. How much do I want to read into this? How much story do I want from this? It's not forcing it on me. Yes, I talked about Sleeping Gods, which is a story-based game, and yes, I talked about Targi, which has none whatsoever. But Scythe, to a degree, Paladins, because it's written into it, Expeditions, Vindication are all, here's a world, here's some great mechanisms. They are tied together, but play that whichever way you want to. Go do that thing. It's a sandbox little game as well. There are monsters to fight if you want to. There's just, build up a group of friends if you want to. You can go get pets, like kind of whatever you can think of in a fantasy world is kind of there to do. You can just go collect relics or go improve yourself as a human being. That's a path you can take to get points to do. It's still a Euro, really. It's all about points. But I've now got the latest expansion, which adds story elements. If you want to do a more chronicles, these kind of narrative elements and these choices to make, which take you down a path that aren't just mechanical choices, but now narrative ones and character ones. I like that being an option, a game that's just that I need to be in the mood for. But hey, do I want to have that experience this time? I will just solo this, because I find the 2 puzzles that it gives you, the 2 versions of that, really engaging. It's beautiful to me. I get this one's a little bit more divisive. I get that. But people that would be put off by it, I had a reluctant person sit down to it with me, and by the end was like, would you mind bringing that again soon? Like, because, they weren't necessarily aesthetically engaged, but the gameplay, the interaction, the control, there's area control. There's all the normal stuff that exists, but in a world that you get to build and manipulate and struggle over, just works for me. Vindication every time.
Yeah, I've got to try it. I've got to try it sometime.
Sure.
All right, number 1,
yes.
The newly crowned king.
Yes.
You know what it is.
Sure, yes.
It is.
Yes.
It's Terraforming Zoo. It's not, though. Do you know what? It really isn't. And I know I can see why people would make that link, because they're like, oh, there's building tags, and you get points for that. It's nothing like it. Yes, it's economic, and you're trying to spend, and yeah, there's an income phase. Yeah, but it's nothing like it. Do you know why? Because there's that little puzzle.
Oh, so good.
So good. You have 5 actions, and they are as strong as they are what column they're in, 1 to 5. Once you use it, you put it back down to number 1. There's just so much meat. And then in the expansion, which initially I played and was like, yeah, it's okay. And that's why I did my list, and it was number 2. It stayed there. And then I played it again with my wife the other night and went, nah, it's good. It's hard because I haven't got all the stuff. It hasn't got all the bells and whistles with Terraforming Mars. It hasn't got, the depth of, like, I've played it on year. So, but what do I want to play right now, all of the time?
Yeah.
that you just look at playtime this year, and I've soloed this so much. It's also got a race mechanic like Terraform Mars in Solo, which is basically the only way I play Solo. But both of them, I'm just like, yeah, but I don't want to do that because the puzzle element of it, and there's a spatial puzzle in your zoo, and there's lots and lots of cards that are going to work out in different ways and chain off each other, and there's it's just great. It's great, and I just always want to play it. And I think, and I've just got to give it number one, just because that's the case. I just keep playing it. I just keep on playing it, and I love the theme. By the way, it's charming. It's delightful.
Yeah.
Absolutely lovely. Wonderful, 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 wonderful. I'm sure everyone knows about it by now, but it's great. Oh no,
it's 50 something for me. I'd have to check. It's top 55. I can't remember the exact number. And that's from one learning game. Because that action selection puzzle is genius and so satisfying.
And you can, I've got to say this, you can upgrade 4 of the 5 cards.
Yeah.
You can get 4 of the 5 partner zoos. In the expansion, you can now have 3 of the 4 partner universities. There's so much non-choice. It's about what am I not going to do?
Yeah.
I'm a limited person. It's not like Scythe, I've upgraded everything.
Yeah.
You just can't. It's not allowed in the game. And so it's as much a choice of what do I do as what don't I do. And that is a genius design space.
My number one's going to make some people mad. It is not the best game that has ever been made.
Oh.
It is my most played game this year.
No.
By at least 3 times any other,
no.
At least.
No.
It is up from number 6.
No.
This is an immaculate, flawless game.
No.
There's absolutely nothing wrong.
No.
With no thanks.
No thanks.
The number 1 game of the year. Undoubtedly. This is the best.
Oh game. My word.
This is my number 1 without question. This little thing is the most fun I have had all year. Most weeks at the group, we'll finish the big game that we're playing, and we'll play this about 5 times.
Wow.
And end up spending about as long as we did on the main game with this. Now, I also took this to London when I taught my friends Lorcana, and they're like, I feel like we've played this before, taught it, and they were like, oh yes, we love, yes, and we just played and played and played. Went back to Lorcana because that was my, that was the main thing that we were doing. There's nothing wrong with this. There's nothing wrong with it. That 9 cards get dealt out so that you can't guarantee that you're going to get those chains of consecutive numbers to shrink down. So it's not just a case of, well, we know that you're going to get that, so we'll take this. Like it's not as deterministic as that. There's the randomness, there's the choice element in there, there's the gamble, there's the push your luck. There is chits. I don't know. What
the stack.
There's nothing wrong with this game. I just had to admit that this was my favorite game.
Wow. I mean, I thought I was making a big call, but wow.
It joined the top 10 last year or the year before.
Wow.
And it's number 1.
Yeah. Well, and when you get around to Scout, you'll find out
that our mother is woefully uneducated on board games. Actually, she's played quite a lot and has a defined taste.
Yes.
Thank you very much for watching. I am so pleased that your number 1 changed.
I mean, I'm blown away by your number 1.
Check us out. Find all the other videos. I'm staggered. I'm sorry. Words are not coming easily. Search me on social media, search Winsome Loose, all the usual places. Great to hear from you. Follow, like, share, subscribe, all the usual stuff. Thank you so much. You have a wonderful holiday season, enjoying the new year and whatnot, and we will look to be back another time, hopefully next year. Until then, I have been Dieter, this is Rick for Winsome Loosemore. Goodbye.